Hi, everybody. This is Mike, and I am starting what hopefully is going to be one of many, bringing other people on, have some sort of like interview dialogue thing. So I'll be with Steve of Steve the Missionary. Him and I were both missionaries with Focus the same year. He has a YouTube channel called Steve the Missionary. Very funny. I really like it. And we will be talking about prayer as improv. It was an idea he shared with me, and I'm like, ooh, this sounds really cool. So, yeah, enjoy. And welcome.
Hi, Mike. How you doing?
Doing really well. So I'm really excited to talk about this whole prayer is improv thing. I know when you first threw that idea out there to me, I was like, yeah, this sounds super cool. So I guess, yeah, just jump right in. Tell us more about it.
Yeah, so it's actually an idea I got from a book, or I first heard in a book called Father Joe. How This Man Saved My Soul, I think is the other subtitle. And the idea is that our prayer isn't just a set of receiving instructions from God or giving God a bunch of demands, but is actually you need to use the skills that you would learn in an improv class. So if you've ever I did improv in like high school, and then
Right.
I auditioned for the group in college and failed because I wasn't good at it. And it shows up in my prayer time too every now and then. Like the primary thing you learn when you learn improv is never negate someone else's input. The first thing they teach you is somebody walks in and says, "I'm an octopus whose name is Whoopi Goldberg." You don't say, "No, you're not. You're whatever." You say, "Yes," and something else. So you say, I don't know, this is a terrible example, but you say like, "Yes, you are an octopus named Whoopi Goldberg, and we are at the House of Representatives trying to debate a Medicare bill," and then you just kind of go with it, and hopefully jokes ensue. And there's this interplay of you always take what's next, and you have to creatively, I guess, be obedient to the input of the other, and that's a skill that I think we need to learn in our prayer and in our discernment, especially in our vocational discernment. Is you go and you pray to God, and you are putting a lot of input because it is you, but you are hopefully leaving some silence and some space for God to talk as well, or even just in your regular life. God happens to you in various ways, or life happens to you, and you have to react to it with God alongside you. And instead of desperately looking for a script, instead of desperately looking for a plan, you actually need to cultivate the skills of reaction, of yes and, as opposed to negating. Because negating will do a couple things. One, it will distance you from God.
You're just
Kind of.
telling him no all the time. Like,
You're just
here's this
telling him
idea, and
no.
you're like, how about not?
But I think, and I'm literally coming up with this on the spot, that it has to do with the concept of acedia. Do you want to explain acedia to people? Um,
As
Go
in
for it.
the fourth of the seven deadly sins. Is that right? Did I get the numbering right?
I have no
There's
clue.
like an order for them from like worst, which is pride, down to like least bad. With
Which
they're
is
all
lust.
there's like they're all deadly, but some are worse than others, and
Yeah.
so that's it's sometimes called sloth. Most people pronounce it sloth, but it's not. And it's a lack of zeal for spiritual things. So it's not
Yeah.
just some people think, oh, it's only laziness, but it could be I'm really busy about stuff that doesn't matter.
Hmm.
It's like this actually happened to me today. So there's like this really important thing I needed to do, and I had the sudden urge to clean my apartment. It's not a bad thing, but
Hmm.
it's not the thing to do right then.
Yeah.
And it could also be just frantic busyness, like I'm overcommitted to everything, and therefore I don't have time to pray.
Hmm.
So not 100% sure how this connects, but there you go.
Okay, so I'm gonna make the connection. That's what acedia is, and then when you're not yes-anding God, what you're actually doing is you're doing kind of a secondary definition of acedia. One of the ways that acedia shows up in our life is it's a sadness for the way that the world is, or a rejection of the way that the world is, and wishing it was different, so that whatever my role in it was not what it is now. So when you are not yes anding God, when you're not reacting to the things that are coming to you, you're actually telling God, "You made the world wrong, and I refuse to participate."
Yeah, I
Uh,
think you missed something, the whole running the world thing. So here's this one part I need you to.
exactly. And that one part is my life. So everything that I have. So you are actually kind of slicing in half what's possible in your prayer life if you are giving a list of demands and are expecting a list a script.
Well, I
When
like
you're
the
actually
script
creating a
thing
stage life together.
because it's sort of like, I think the common view of vocational discernment or just discernment in general is we just want God to hand us the script. And so then, hey, I'll take it from here. Like, I got it. I'll just read the lines. I do what it says, and that's it. And there's really no like give and take. There's no real relationalness there. And that's why I really like this whole improv thing is it requires more of a relational thing, knowing your partner.
Yeah. And it requires a lot of trust in how much God loves you.
Which is hard.
Yeah, it's really difficult. But if you say if God loves me, then He's going to be okay with not writing it out. And in fact, He gives us free will. We like know that from day one. God gives us free will, and He's going to go through the play of doing this with us, the enjoyment, the back and forth, the creation of my life. And that's a totally different concept than giving you a set of instructions.
I think also a good improv partner will continue to give you more things. It's not like, here is the one thing and you shot it down, okay, we're done. Like, you're still up on stage and you still have to keep going, which I always found very challenging with any sort of live thing is once you mess up, you're still there. You can't quit and restart. You have to keep going.
That's actually really frightening when you're on stage. Is someone screwed up a line, something fell over, a joke didn't land, someone came up with an idea that I'm Whoopi Goldberg, that's actually an octopus, and there's people still in the audience. Life is still happening. This show is still happening. I have to keep going.
Like, okay, who's gonna do something about this?
And especially when it's your prayer life, it's I'm the one that's going to do something about this. God is the one that's going to do something about this. There was Annie Dillard was an author, and she talked about how, one of the prophets, she says, this poor prophet, God said, who will speak to the people for me? And this poor guy, he just happened to be there, so he said, here I am. And it wasn't a script, it was God wanted something. He's like, okay, I'll do it. I happen to be here. And in a lot of ways, every reaction, every good deed you do is just, something needs to get done. I guess I'll do it because I'm the one that's here.
And I think being prepared to do it also, like one of the classic examples is King David. He was prepared to kill Goliath because he was defending the flock from like bears and lions. And I forget what it is. He's basically like, I've killed bears with my bare hands before, and all of the lions trying to carry the sheep off. He's just like, no big deal. So I can kill this guy.
Yeah. And then the flip side of that, he was prepared to, commit adultery and et cetera, because he wasn't defending his kingdom. So there's both. You are rehearsing both.
That's good. Good tie-in to this whole theater thing.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Rehearsal's a big deal.
Was that on purpose?
No, not at all. I guess I just think in those terms. Because high school never leaves you.
Did you do just improv in high school, or did you also do, like, shows?
No, I was a theater kid in high school, so I was Sailor Number 3 in Les Miserables, and I was Bernardo in West Side Story, and I was a caterpillar in, like, some children's show that was, like, the invention of the butterfly, something like that.
That's I also did theater in high school.
Nice.
Which people hear like engineer, they're like, that doesn't necessarily go together. But I did improv at our college also. We would do shows at like the prospective student events as well, which was pretty cool. And the university liked it because they knew it was going to be a clean show and it was free. Those were like 2 pluses for everyone. They could say, hey, look at what some of our student organizations did. You can start a club too. And so it's like a really good thing. So
you promised them that you were going to be clean?
Well, I was the one in charge of it, so I'm going to enforce that. And yeah, it was sometimes not as much as others, but like nothing super terrible was going to happen.
Yeah.
Just also given the people who were in it. But yeah, it was a lot of fun, and also learned a lot of like, because I'm the type who just loves to, if I make a mistake, I'm going to go back and fix it. It has to be perfect the first time, therefore I won't start.
Yeah.
Which that can be a danger for prayer too. Is kind of like, until I know exactly how to do this, I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
That's not reality. That's
terrible. Don't do that. You'll be stuck in a chapel for the rest of your life. And there's a very small amount of us who are meant to do that. And it's probably not you or me. So we had to get out of there and just start doing things.
Well, then you
There was a
learn
priest.
by doing too.
Yeah, you learn by doing, and you heal by doing. You grow by doing. You like the oh man, all the way to heaven is heaven because Jesus is the way. Whoever said that first.
I didn't know
Um,
that second part. I just only heard the all the way to heaven is heaven. So
oh yeah.
that's cool.
Well, that's the only thing that makes sense, right? Because if all the way to heaven is heaven, then like all of my bad days were heaven just because they were bad. But if they were because they were with Christ, that makes sense.
Well, because there was one saint, and I don't know which one it was saying that in heaven, looking back on all of the sufferings of this life, it'll be like one night at a bad inn.
It's so trivial.
Yeah, like, oh wow, that that puts it in perspective. Except it doesn't make it suck any less at the time.
Yeah. Because I've been in some bad ends, and that it sucks.
There was this is kind of a tangent, but that's okay. It doesn't have to be. This is improv, right?
Yeah.
Where who was it? They were talking about it was some speaker, and he was talking about it clicked the whole offering your sufferings for a particular intention. And he remembers like being in pain. I think it was a headache. I don't remember for sure. And he goes into his son's room, and his son's sleeping, and he decides he's going to offer his headache for his son. And it was like a really beautiful moment. He's like, and it didn't make the pain go away.
No.
Sometimes there's this view of like, oh, now that I've offered the suffering, then therefore it's just gone. Nope.
If anything, it makes you feel it more, or at least in that moment. You notice that you're paying attention to it. You are analyzing its breadth and depth so that you can give it to God. And so and that's the same thing with grief too. Christ is with you in your grief and with your mourning, but in the first thing that happens in that healing in that moment is you notice how much of mourning you are in. It kind of bothers me when people say, oh, your religion is just a crutch to make you feel better when people die. It's like, actually, it makes me feel all the emotions when people die, including the hope, but including like the dark stuff.
There's a book I just read, and it was talking about we do a disservice to people at funerals by telling them to cheer up because so and so is in a better place. It's negating the fact that they're feeling grief at this moment, and so it may be theologically correct, but it's badly timed. And so it's basically saying like that certain emotions are bad and they have no place in the Christian life, which if you read the Bible is not true. Like the Psalms, Job, lament is a thing, but also hope is a thing too. It's not just like Jesus didn't say, follow me and everything will be happy all the time. He said, I'm promising you tribulation and troubles, but I've overcome the world.
Yeah.
Vastly different.
Yeah. And ultimately more human.
Yeah.
Ultimately more of what we are.
Yeah. This is a slight tangent going back to improv stuff. Have you ever seen a full-length improvised show?
Yes. Of a friend in college who had to do one of those long form things.
I've only ever done maybe 15-minute ones, but I've always wanted to see a 2-act play improvised or in a musical. That would be so cool.
I've never seen that. So this was maybe an hour set.
Okay.
And so
it's like a one-act play.
Yeah. So for the people watching, it's what happens is, and Second City would do this, and you can YouTube great Amy Poehler, Tina Fey, Second City shows where somebody walks up and they ask ideas from the audience, and somebody will shout out ham or something weird, and Tina Fey has to get up there and do a 4-minute monologue about anything in her mind that is connected to the word ham. So she talks about Christmas. She talks about the one time she burned a ham. She talks about anything that's connected to those ideas. And out of that 2-3 minute speech, they just pull things for the next hour, improv and jokes and scenes. And sometimes they're connected, sometimes not. So I saw similar shows in LA. From old college friends, and they would come up with one speech out of a random idea in the crowd and then go for an hour from this. And I think I'm just pulling this out of my back pocket with prayer life
I was going to try to connect it at some point too. I'm just kind of thinking how are we going to do this, but all right, great.
In a lot of ways that's your own childhood, right? You don't get to choose what that first word is, and then a lot of that first speech, you see it in the actor's eyes. They're just spitting out whatever's at the top of their head. because the idea is to get as many ideas in the air as possible so that the rest of your team has something to work with. And in a lot of sense, that's your childhood. You're running on instinct as a kid, and you just kind of spitting things out as they happen to you. And then you have
sticks.
And some of it sticks. And then you have to work with the ideas and with other people and with your own creativity and skill to make something out of it. I'm going back to this creative notion a lot. We have this gift to co-create our own lives with God. And this is actually a recent idea among Christians. It wasn't until I'm sorry about the philosophy. It wasn't until after Kierkegaard was really angsty about the meaninglessness of life that other Christians try to figure out oh, maybe it's possible that my life isn't stamped with a meaning and a destination at the very beginning, but I'm still building something and God still exists, and meaning can still be derived from it.
This is a great summary of Kierkegaard also.
I bring Kierkegaard and Marcel into basically every conversation I'm in.
Nicely
It's a
done.
bad skill.
Oh, wow. Well, I'm glad that you're doing that. Do you remember from our summer training our first year how Father James Brent wanted you to work the phrase Jesus is Lord in 25 times a day?
Oh, yeah. That was a good idea.
I never did it.
And neither did I.
As soon as he said it, I'm like, that sounds cool, but I'm not going to make any steps to make this happen, though it still would be pretty awesome.
The other one I tried to do was try to fit in Bible quotes into my conversations without citing the Bible. That seemed like an easier one. Because it's true. If you're quoting the Bible, you're saying true things. So just say them, and no one needs to know that it's from 2 John. Blah, blah, blah. They just need to hear true things.
It's funny, you read the church fathers, and it just happens. You
Yeah.
read it, and you're like, okay, that was a reference to 2 Corinthians, whatever. That was a reference to this psalm, and it's just there, which makes it really hard for people translating the fathers. Do I cite it or not? Because Augustine didn't, but it's very clearly a reference to. And so, do I put a little asterisk and then this is what he said, which is kind of a fun thing.
You learn. It's weird when you're a college student reading those guys, because you're like, well, Augustine didn't cite his sources. Why do I have to cite my sources?
Yeah, that's well. When you become Saint Augustine, you can also not cite your sources.
Thank you. That's the other thing you learn. The smarter you are, the more they let you slip on citing.
Well, because then you are the person that's being cited, so it's
Exactly.
Yeah. Good work. All right, well, this has been awesome. Let's kind of, I guess, wrap it up. So wow, wrong question. Where can people find you?
People can find me first at my YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/Steve the Missionary. They can also go to my Pathos channel, which gives me more clicks. So that's pathos.com/blogs/Steve the Missionary. I'm also on Twitter on @SteveMissionary if you want to hear me talk about soccer and musicals as opposed to just Jesus.
Put all of those in the description so people can
Please do.
click on it and it'll be easier. Well, I guess, how did you first get into vlogging? Because I know you did at some point, but I can't remember exactly how it happened.
Yeah, it was the summer after our first year as missionaries. So that's summer 2013. And I had spent a good 2 or 3 years just addicted to some YouTube channels. So especially the Vlog Brothers, and then the earliest of those educational channels like the Vihard and the Minute Physics and stuff like that. They're great channels. And I would spend too much time watching these. And I would look and notice a couple things. One, there was actually a conversation happening with its own assumptions and background philosophies and things that are kind of agreed upon, and therefore a culture happening on YouTube. And also that there wasn't a Catholic voice in that culture. So all of the basic assumptions, background philosophies coming from a Catholic voice just aren't getting heard. And so this culture was becoming very materialistic, secular, which is not good. The gospel has to go into all of those places. So I started just Googling and searching for Catholic vlogs, Catholic YouTube makers, Catholic video makers. And I found Bishop Barron, or then Father Barron, who's good, but very specific. It's 10-minute long videos of just him with his library in the background, which is why I have my library in my background. You want to have a good YouTube video, have books in the background.
I do, except they're like down here out of the camera. Here, I'll kind of like
Ooh.
pan over. They're not even mine. They're my roommates. Mine are in my room, which is actually on the other side of this wall.
Oh, that's funny. Okay.
Wow.
So yeah, so
Anyway,
so Bishop Barron.
Out there, and then like the crazy conservative people, like angry conservative, and I was like, that's not the voice I want representing my faith in this culture. So I just started making videos, and I would post them among my focus friends. So that's how I got my first views and my first viewers, and then I had to kind of expand from there. So I'm like almost 4 years in, and it's been a good hobby, trying to figure out if it should be more than a hobby, which is kind of a lot of fun. But I've met great people. I'm so happy you're doing this work. It's cool to see new people pop up and having their own kind of spin, their own desires, their own style, so that hopefully we can all like enter into the broader YouTube culture together and not just be our own like little ghetto, but as a team go forward. That's my goal.
That's awesome. And then my closing question, which I did prep you on, so you know that it's coming. So since the theme of my channel is all about helping people become the hero that God is calling them to be, so what's one piece of advice you have for people who are trying to do that?
The piece of advice to becoming God's hero. Let God teach you his definition of hero. We all have our own ideas of heroes. They were taught to us by movies, by our own family, by the stories and legends we tell, by the comic books we read, the video games we play. And a lot of them have aspects of God's definition of hero, but the full definition needs to come from God himself. And so let him teach you and then go toward that. And then you can pull examples from any place you want to exemplify one thing or another, but no video game is going to show you a perfect hero. No movie is going to show you a perfect hero. God will show you that. And it'd be really boring. I was about to say awkward opera stuff, so don't worry about it. It'd be kind of boring if it did. So you need to go toward God and follow his definition of hero.
Cool. Well, that's awesome. That's really good advice. So again, thank you, Steve. I'm sure this won't be the only video we do, assuming I can figure out how to do this whole editing thing and all of that stuff. So thanks for coming on, and yeah.
Awesome. Thanks for having me. I hope we collaborate a lot in the future.
Hope you guys enjoyed it. It was definitely a lot of fun to make. And as we mentioned before, you can find Steve on his YouTube channel, Steve the Missionary, or on his Patheos page, which also has his YouTube videos. You can see either way. I really enjoyed his video series called God Doesn't Have a Plan for Your Life. Talking about how, plan is sort of like very, very rigid and like, structured, kind of like the script. And then also one of his from a few years ago called You're Doing Lent Wrong. So at this point in Lent, it might be too late to change if you do see that one, but I really enjoyed those videos. And so, yeah, go check it out. All right, I've got to figure out how I want to introduce this. So, all right, well, hi, Steve, and welcome. And we are here to talk. Wait, hang on, I can't hear you.
Really?
There we go. Never mind. All right, let's try that again. Hi, Steve, and welcome.